But here is the part people misunderstand. The separation is not usually created by something impressive. The great separation is difficult to see while it is happening because most people around you are drifting too. That is the strange thing about average. It does not feel average when everyone around you is living the same way. If everyone is tired, tired feels normal. If everyone is distracted, distraction feels normal. If everybody is out of shape, being out of shape feels normal. If everyone is broke, broke feels normal. If everyone is spiritually lukewarm, lukewarm faith feels normal. Your environment quietly adjusts your standards until mediocrity stops feeling like a warning sign. It starts feeling like life. And that is dangerous because you do not usually realize you're average by looking around at average people. You realize you realize it when you encounter someone who has been living with different standards. Someone your age who trained while you drifted. Someone who built skills while you consumed. Someone who saved and invested while you spent. Somebody who stayed close to God while you kept numbing yourself. Someone who kept doing the boring things long enough for the boring things to become visible. That is where the gap starts showing. Not because they found a secret, not because they hacked life, not because they were born with some supernatural discipline, but because they kept doing the obvious things after the novelty disappeared. After the novelty disappeared. And that might be the most frustrating truth of all. The fundamentals still work. They're just boring enough that most people never repeat them long enough to be changed by them. And this is where the mirror gets uncomfortable, because your sense of normal is usually borrowed from the people around you. And I think for me, this is a very interesting thing because I think growing up, we spend, even now, I don't think it's changed, we spend a lot of time online and you're constantly comparing yourself to, the top of the top. And I think I spoke about this in my last video, so I'm not going to delve too much into it. But there's a contrast between seeing that and then kind of getting into real life. Because I think as much as our generation spends a lot of time on our phones, when you get older and you actually start working like a 9 to 5 job, or you start doing other things, other adult things, you're forced to actually be in the world more. Like, I don't think I'm wrong in saying in your mid 20s, you spend a lot more time interacting with the world than you did when you were in your teenage years. And that is very interesting to me because when you start spending a lot more time in the world, you're surrounded by average people. Like, that's just how it works. Average is average because it's the average of everybody, right? Like, I think it's a pretty simple but kind of profound understanding, right? That the people you look around you are always gonna kind of display average, and it's gonna feel fine. Like, you're gonna look around. Like, for me, for example, like, I'm like, damn, I'm out of shape. I need to get back into serious shape. Like, forget even the shape I used to be in. I want to be in better shape than that. And but like right now, I'm overweight. Like, I think I'm the heaviest I've ever weighed, and I'm like, unacceptable for me. I'm like, I hate that. And if I ever bring it up in any kind of conversation, if it comes up where I'm like, man, I need to lose weight, they're like, no, you don't look fat. You're, oh, dude, you look fine. Um, and that's what I'm talking about. When you're around average, average looks average. Like, average looks normal. Sorry. And I think a nice example is kind of this body fat thing. I think I watched a video, it was like 2 days ago actually. Apparently, the average person, and I definitely believe this, the average person underestimates their body fat percentage. So there's the whole video, I think you find it on YouTube actually, where people have they've gone and done experiments. So just pull the average person. It's like, hey, do you want to get your body fat tested or whatever? And then they get them to guess their body fat, and they usually guess a lot lower than what they actually are. And that for me is interesting because that's how we are as humans, right? But then the mechanism I'm speaking of becomes very apparent when I think about gym bros, and body dysmorphia, right? Because if you spend any kind of time drenched in gym bro culture, you go to the gym, you're obsessed with your physique. Online, all you're doing is watching gym bro videos. You're watching. I remember back in the day. I say back in the day as if it's like freaking decades ago. Um, like 5, 6 years ago. Um, like your David Lades, Alex Eubank, obviously like Chris Bumstead and all of them. But like, that's what you're seeing online, and you're seeing these people with like freaking crazy. I mean, they've got crazy genetics and they've worked really, really hard. Their physiques are just incredible. They've got a lot of muscle, no fat. And you look at yourself and you're in great shape. Like, you could be like freaking 12% body fat. And you've got really good muscle. Like, you're in the top 1%, right? Because as what we're speaking on, average is average because everybody's average, right? And if you just have decent muscle, You got kind of that V taper look or whatever, and you can see your abs. That's top 1% shape. Because top 1% literally means if I picked 100 people in a room, if I put 100 people in a room, just random, you would be one person. You'd be like, you'd have the top physique, right? Or if there's 1,000 people, um, yeah, I think my maths is right here. There's 1,000 people, you'd be in the top 10, right? Like you would be a top 1% person, but then if you're looking online, you're looking at the 1% of the 1%, and you're like, man, I'm so fat or I'm so skinny. And it's like, you're not. But that's so interesting to me because you've got one case where, you go to work or you're just in a normal environment, and it's like, hey, you are out of shape, but it feels fine. But then you've got somebody else who's in incredible shape and they don't feel fine because of the environment they've put themselves in. And for me, kind of the important part for us to realize in all of this, right, is that the boring fundamentals create the gap. And that's something that shouldn't be lost on us, because I was listening to this podcast, it's Chris Williamson's podcast, like a week ago, and they were speaking about how kind of the game of like self improvement or just content in general, right? Is that you're not really coming up with like this new profound self improvement thing. I mean, you look at all the books that are out there, whatever the case is. I think just how many habit books there are. Like, how many possible insights about habits could you have that you need to have freaking hundreds of like top tier books on habits? It's not. It's really all kind of just the same advice, but packaged differently. And that's what the game is, right? We know what we need to do. We just love kind of having it from a new perspective, a new story, you know? The fundamentals. We know them, man. And it's so easy for us to forget because we're so entrenched in everything. You start trying to look for the new niche thing. It's like, oh, Andrew Huberman was speaking about how, you need to get up, don't drink coffee in the first 90 minutes. You need to get sunlight in your eyes. You need to do this, and that. And it's like, it's good stuff, right? But it's like, you're trying to like latch onto like this new thing that's going to magically change everything, but it's not, right? The fundamentals are the same, they've remained the same, and they will remain the same, right? Get your 8 hours of sleep, work out at least 3 times a week, do resistance training, progressively overload, eat clean. I mean, again, it doesn't need to be complicated. Like, eat whole foods, stop eating junk food, stop drinking Coke and all this stuff. Only drink water, eat fruits, meat, vegetables, eat your good carbs, I guess. Like, again, then you start getting into crazy things like, oh, should I be eating carbs? Should I be like, bruv, just eat good food, like eat normal food, stop eating processed food. If you want to be successful like in your life, like build a skill. Like, it's the same story. It's not like, oh, there's this, oh, AI has taken over the world or whatever. It's like, I learned this new specific thing with AI and it's gonna separate you from everyone else. Sure, like I think we should be using AI. I use it so much to help me. But the fundamentals remain the same. Figure out how you can provide value to people. Right, that's the main thing. You can use AI and stuff to aid you in that, but you need to build a skill. There's no one thing that's going to shortcut everything, right? It's Iman calls it an income producing activity, an IPA. Build a skill that can help you, differentiates you, right? It's all so simple. Like, it's all the simple stuff, and that's the stuff that's gonna get you out of where you need to get out. Stop spending so much time on your phone. Like, this. You've been knowing this for like 5-10 years that it's terrible for you. But we just don't do it. We just don't do it. And it's important for us to get back to those fundamentals. I think that's really, it's kind of the unobvious insight, right? Do the basics. Because most people are not doing the basics. And this is where it's difficult, right? This is where it's very interesting becoming an adult, because growing up, you kind of had this thing of like, I want to do this, and that in life. I'm not going to end up like these people, right? You have a kind of a plan. And then, everyone has a plan until life smacks you in the face, right? You start living life, you start working 40 hours a week or more. Then all of a sudden you're finding yourself using your phone as a coping mechanism, eating badly. You're at the office late or whatever, and you're ordering, let me get some steers, let me get some KFC or whatever it is. You're drinking I drink a lot of hot chocolate. I need to stop that. I've been trying to kick that habit, but it's like, life just starts to happen, and then all of a sudden doing the boring fundamentals is difficult. I mean, something as simple as getting consistent sleep. When you're working the whole day, and it's not just 8 hours, right? It's kind of like, the time you need to get up and get ready in the morning, commute to work, come back, and you want to have a social life. The only time you're really going to have a social life is on the weekend or in the evenings, right? I think in the evenings as well, because people want to use weekends to rest. It's like, cool, I'm meeting up with my friends in the evenings, or I'm going to church group in the evenings, or whatever the case is. Now I'm getting home late. Like, for me, that was the case 2024 and 2025. Like, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and some Fridays as well. Getting home 10:30, 11, and it's like, I mean, when you do that, and then you need to get up early again tomorrow morning to go to work, when are you going to find time to get your 8 hours of sleep and gym and everything, right? And it's like, okay, now you find yourself with this tension where it's actually difficult. You need to pick something. And then you're like, okay, I need to be the boring person. Maybe not do as much things in the evenings. I need to have a bedtime, wake up early. Or maybe I sacrifice that. And it's very difficult to resist kind of the normal things that are offered in life, because life gets hard and you need kind of coping mechanisms or things to look forward to. And that's where you start to see this tension. And I think it's just important for us not to lose sight of the fact that it's still the basics, still very much the basics that are going to create the great separation. It's as simple as I say no to all these things so I can say yes to the things that are actually going to take me forward and are going to give me the life that I want to live. So the uncomfortable truth is that the great separation is not built on secrets. It is built on repetition. The great separation is not built on impressive moments. It is built on ordinary actions repeated until they become evidence. One workout does not change your body, but 3 years of training does. One night of good sleep does not change your life, but a stable rhythm changes the man who wakes up early in the morning. One prayer does not make you spiritually mature, but years of returning to God when nobody is watching begins to form you. One focused work session does not build a future, but focused work repeated long enough starts creating options. That is the part people miss. The fundamentals are not powerful because they're exciting. They're powerful because they compound. And the men who separate are not always the men who knew the most. They're usually the men who obeyed the obvious target. They're usually the men who obeyed the obvious target.